Good morning, artists. I'm so thrilled to be here to be able to read a book to you. I'm Ann Hanlon.
And I'm Bob Hanlon.
We come to the Art Center many, many times, and we're going to read the book Dream Something Big.
It's about the Watts Towers in California.
Dream Something Big by Diana Hutz Aston. One chip of tile. Uncle Sam held it in his hand, studying it, his imagination turning like a kaleidoscope. He put it in his pocket. I'm going to do something big, I heard him say. I didn't know then, but that single chip of tile was no longer trash. It was the first building block to a candy-covered castle. Uncle Sam was my neighbor. His name was Simon, but we never called him that. We lived in Watts, California on 107th Street, where the aroma of tamales sizzled in the air, where the trucks of Japanese farmers rumbled to and from vegetable markets, and where music and laughter rippled from the diners and dancers at the Watts Tavern.
No one really knew what to think of Uncle Sam, this man who talked to himself as he hunted the garbage heaps for things no one wanted, a rainbow of broken teapots, plates, tiles, and sparkling bottles. I collected jewels with him along the railroad tracks, sacks and sacks and sacks of them. My favorite were the tiles with blue flowers, the soda bottles with the girl in the bubbles, and the green horse. For every bag of bits, he gave me a penny. Pennies brought a lot of candy. Uncle Sam worked in a tile factory every day except Sundays and holidays, but he worked on his creation every night, every Sunday, every holiday. He took those bags of glass and he smashed them, whack, whack, whack. I watched him shove steel rods under railroad tracks and transform them into rings. Uncle Sam was small and skinny, but his muscles were mighty. Some people called him crazy, but he wasn't. He was a magician.
In Broken Things, he saw what no one else saw. He found hearts in the backs of old ice cream parlor chairs, flowers in faucet handles, the sun in rusty gears. People who couldn't see the flowers and the hearts wondered, why build it? Why build it? I can't tell you, he said. Why a man make pants? Why a man make the shoes? Uncle Sam talked to himself while he mixed a secret recipe for mortar. This much sand, this much cement, this much water. Cement as powdery as flour, sand as finely ground as sugar, and water to bind them. He wrapped wire mesh around the poles, and he smoothed the cement around them, and he carefully pressed a jigsaw of jewels into his batter of wet cement. Day after day, year after year, working on his something big, without gloves, until his fingerprints were worn away.
A ship appeared, a tower rose, a cactus garden bloomed. In his strange mix of Italian and English that was difficult for all of us to understand, he told us about the great towers and the ship he had seen as a child in parades in his village of Robatoli, towers that were 6 stories high. Uncle Sam worked long into the night, singing to himself, flitting from rung to rung like a firefly. Turn out the light, Uncle Sam. I'm working up here, Marguerite. Every day the trains passed by with tens of thousands of passengers a week going to and from Los Angeles. The towers were Uncle Sam's stage, the passengers his audience. Dust from the train swirled around him, but he didn't let it bother him. He was in the spotlight.
Another tower arose. Uncle Sam showed my children all the triangles. all the triangles in the branches of trees. Triangles, he said, were the strongest shapes, and he built his towers of triangles day after day, year after year. He showed me and my children the beauty of a broken angel, a bowling ball, a boot, the usefulness of an airplane wing, the patterns shells and rocks could make. Uncle Sam was like a spider weaving his web of steel and cement and lacy shadows. The third tower was his last. He wrote his initials and En Nuestro Pueblo in cement, our town, a village for the world.
Not long after that, Uncle Sam suddenly put away his tools and jewels and stopped building. We were all surprised. He put on a suit, pinned his life savings inside it, and gave the deed to a triangular lot with its ship and towers, fountain and gardens to a friend and walked away. We never saw Uncle Sam again. But I remember him, my Uncle Sam, my neighbor for 34 years, the dreamer. People no longer call Simon Rodia foolish and crazy. They call him a man of genius who built a gigantic flower of folk art, a man with a heart full of gratitude to the country that invited him to dream without limits, the country that had given him the freedom to reach for the sky. Uncle Sam's Something Big is now a national landmark.